What's up, YouTube? This is your girl Shenita C, aka the Beauty Influencer, coming at you with another YouTube video. So, as you guys can probably see on the screen, this is going to be a very interesting video. So, if you guys want to hear what I have to say on today's topic, then stay tuned. Also, I want to just go ahead and give a shout out to my original subscribers. Thank you all so much for tuning in again. And for the new subscribers, oh my God, thank you guys so much for joining. As always, you guys could have been on any other YouTuber's channel, but here you guys are with me, and for that I do thank you. So yeah, let's jump into this video. Happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle. Some things are within your control and some things are not. Epictetus. So this particular quote is very interesting. I found it very interesting, and it is part of the principle of Stoicism. And for those of you that may not be familiar with Stoicism, it is the endurance of pain or hardship without the display of feelings and without complaint. So let's focus back on the quote. Why is it that we love to say that someone or something provoked us? Why is that? Just think about it. I know it's easier said than done that when you are in a very high emotional state, for us to not take the time to just think about the consequences or even the factors that are in play during that moment of intensity. But we have to know that certain things in this life are indeed within our control. Some people even say that there's a 90-10 rule, as in 90% of things are within our control, while the other 10% we have no control over what happens to us. What are you guys' thoughts on that? For me, I love that rule, and I do believe that the majority of the things that happen to us in this particular life is indeed within our control. And so there's this thing of impulsivity, where people pretty much think on impulse, or they react, on their impulses, rather than, not taking out the time to think about what consequences may lie on the other end of a decision that they may make in that moment in time. Now, granted, we live in a world that is full of stressors. Think about it. In the year 2024, we are faced with a lot of financial responsibilities. You have the cost of living in play, the high rising cost of food, rent, things of that nature. And that can create a very stressful environment for some people in comparison to others. And we are all so quick to say, well, I have no control over this, or I have no control over that. But how many of you actually take the time to think about the things that you indeed do have control over? So what I mean by that is, right now I am a single woman and I live in a household by myself. I am feeling the effects of the rising cost of living here in the state of Georgia, or in the world, period. And I may feel like indeed I have no control over the rising cost of living, but in actuality I do. So I have several options. I can choose to pick up another job. I can choose to do a change in career. I can choose to start my own business, what have you, anything to pretty much accommodate my needs as far as living. Now, the average person wouldn't take the time to think about that. They would just completely say, well, you know what, it's out of my control. But actually, it is in your control. It's just a matter of you choosing whether you want to get out of that particular situation or rut that you may find yourself in. And so when you feel in that moment in time that something is out of your control, then essentially you are pretty much giving away your happiness or your freedom based on what this quote is saying. So people often ask, how is it that certain people are able to live a very successful and lucrative life? And the answer is simple: freedom, control, reality. Freedom because they have the funds to do whatever it is that they desire in this particular life. And they have this freedom because they have trained their mind to know and understand that indeed everything on this earth is within their control, rather than thinking that the adversities that they may be faced with can control them. And to give you an understanding of this is pretty much to give you an understanding of this is for those of us that have maybe grown up in a toxic environment as a child, and that environment could have caused us to grow up and become sheltered or, hardened almost. And you have a choice when you become of a certain age as an adult, a mature adult, to know that the life that you create now as an adult that's your choosing and not your parents. There's no one else to blame but yourself at this point. If indeed, you are going about this life in a very unwise manner. I had to think about the word that I wanted to use. Now, for me, growing up, I know I came from an environment that it wasn't the best environment. I don't quite know the adjective that I would use to describe it, but it wasn't the best. And because of what I've experienced during that time, now as an adult, I know that I do not want to be subjected to that type of environment again. So whatever decisions or actions that I must take or make to make sure that I do not go back down that road, I'm going to do that, because I refuse again to have my environment control me or be a product of my environment, if that makes sense. And I just strongly believe that I am in control of my happiness, my peace, my freedom. That is my mindset. How many of you agree with that? Have you ever come across a person where they blame everything on other people? Even the choices that they make. They may say, you know what, I'm like this because of my mom, or I'm like this because of my dad, or I'm like this because of the environment that I had. Stay away from those people. Those people are immature and then they lack accountability. And part of being an adult is accepting accountability for your actions and the choices that you make in this particular lifetime. Now, going back to Stoicism and what it entails, again, is the endurance of pain or hardship without display of feelings and without complaint. Now, there are some people in this world that have really gone through some things. I myself, and I'm pretty sure other people, the majority of us have gone through some things. But for me, is those adversities or challenges that you are faced with or were faced with, it is during those that moment that you are going through that. To me, I feel like that's what God looks at. That's what builds character. That is what gets us through those hard times, how you react and how you treated other people during those dark moments that you may have experienced. And I like to call those moments tests, because I feel like what we may go through that is very painful or a dark moment for us is God's way of testing our faith to see how much we believe in Him as much as ourselves. Like, would you bet on yourself that you can get over this particular situation or the circumstances? Would you bet on yourself if you were to lose your job and God makes you feel so uncomfortable that you leave that job because He has another better job or opportunity awaiting for you? Would you bet on yourself long enough to embrace the gift that is on the other side of that door? Right. So I know, again, it is easier said than done, because when you do not see a way out, or when you're not able to see, just, I like to think of you driving at nighttime with your headlights on down a very dark and windy road. And we can even throw in some factors like heavy rain, thunderstorms, wind, and stuff, and you're only able to see but so far. You cannot see from where you are right now all the way to your destination. You can't see that. But as you start going more and more up the winding road to your destination, and to the point where your destination is right before your eyes, only then are you able to say, you know what, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, or I see my destination. And it's at that point that you become calm. You're no longer in a heightened state of emotions. Does that make sense? So if you believe in yourself during that time of driving in the dark with all of the many factors that are out of your control, like the rain, that is, why is it that when it comes to us being in similar circumstances, because some things that are out of our control is the loss of a loved one, maybe a job that laid you off. Again, this has nothing to do with you. Maybe the company, got bought by someone else or shut down, and so in turn they're laying off people. Or maybe, you're staying in a particular apartment complex and the property owner is being transferred to someone else. And so with that being said, they're kind of forcing the tenants to go ahead and move so that they can renovate. Those are factors that are out of your control. But it's during those moments of times of things that are out of your control where your faith is being tested. And see, though, that goes back to that 10%, things that are not within our control. But things that are in your control is, you choosing to quit a job and find another job. That's a choice that you made, because at the end of the day, God does give us free will. I feel like I'm jumping all over the place, but I wanted to put all of this out there, and I'm hoping that all of this does tie into what I'm saying, even going back to the previous quote, of happiness and freedom, being within our control, or having the understanding, should I say, of happiness. I'm sorry. Happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle, and some things are within your control while some things are not in your control. So I'm going to ask you guys, what are you doing right now in your life that you do indeed have control over? And then look at the things that you do not have control over. Why do we allow the things that small percentage of things that we cannot control, why do we allow that to overwhelm us? And it comes at a time when we really don't need it. You may already be experiencing and going through things, and now you're letting the 10% of things overshadow the 90% of things that are indeed within your control. I don't know about you guys, but I would rather take 90% over 10% of anything any day of the week, correct? I just wanted to put this out here because a couple of weeks ago, I had been, trying to understand myself. And that's why I'm making these videos now. It's just a self-discovery journey that I've been on. And I found myself looking at certain videos on YouTube, and that word stoicism came up. And it goes back to Greek philosophy pretty much. So the Greek philosophers may have been onto something back in the day to come up with this concept, because I looked at it and I'm like, you know what, I have those type of traits of being a stoic person, where I don't pretty much display my feelings of what I'm feeling inside, no matter how hard of a load that I'm carrying. Because I'm one of those ones where I could be going through something and I still go throughout my day-to-day life. I still go to work. I still go to school if I'm in school. I used to do that. And I didn't know that they had a terminology for that type of behavior. And as mentioned, it stems from Greek philosophy. And I think it's a great concept. So if you guys have not looked into Stoicism, I would encourage you all to do so, because it is some good messages within looking into that particular philosophy. And I think you guys may find that it's very therapeutic just knowing about it, And they say that some people actually have traits of being a stoic individual. And it's mostly for those people who suffer silently with their problems without complaining or showing how they really feel. And a lot of people do this. Now, I do it not because I don't want to express myself or that I have a hard time, but I actually do it because I feel like everyone else is going through their own battles as it is, and I don't want to burden people. So that is my reason of why I carry it. Now, if I come across a person that genuinely seems to be concerned about what I may be experiencing, or someone that can actually tell that I'm going through something, then by all means, I wouldn't mind, opening up to them. But for the most part, I look at it as, I know that people are already going through things. So I don't want to weigh them down with what they already have going on. And I can't speak for everyone else, but I have this strong gift of discernment where I can pick up people's feelings and emotions. Like, I can just read a person just by being in their presence. And I'm not off by the presence that I'm usually subjected to. Like, I usually hit it dead on. And that's something that I want to talk about in another video. But right now, I just wanted to focus on Stoicism, and of course, things being within your control, and then the things that are not in your control. And I just pretty much wanted to say that no matter what you are going through, there's someone out here that may have experienced the same thing and that's able to help you get through those tough moments, and understand that you are not alone during that time. And it may be hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel, but just know, as you're continuing on going down the journey, that you are going to find your destination. And not only will you find your destination, but it's definitely going to be worth the drive, the walk, the swim, however way that God has you going through or getting to that destination. Understand that it's going to be so worth it. So I wanted to just share that with you guys and just give out some words of encouragement just to uplift you guys, okay? Because I had got so many good, encouraging, positive words from my last video that I uploaded about healing the inner child within you, that I said, you know what, I am indeed on the right track with just motivating people with my thoughts on certain topics, or my experiences that I have been through, good and bad. You just never know who else may have been going through the same thing. I have gone through it and need that voice, that inspiration, those words of encouragement. So I wanted to leave you guys with that. And yeah, so I really do hope that you guys enjoyed what I had to say in this video, and I do hope that I was able to express myself to the most the most of my capability without sounding too boring. Yeah, so until next time, again, thank you all so much for tuning in, and I will talk to you guys later in my next video. Bye.